What's going on there, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's a conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. We're back with another live stream for y'all. With me, as ever, co-piloting this thing is the homeboy Rob.
What's going on?
Absolutely nothing. There's nothing to report.
Yeah, just like last week. I mean,
Yeah,
nothing
really quiet.
happened.
Yeah, it's really odd that it's been so quiet lately.
Nobody shit on our beds.
Yeah, nobody shit on our beds. No one faked any domestic battery. Although your wife kind of did domestically batter me this past weekend.
Well, she will do that.
Yes, and that's why my mom hates her.
Oh, my wife.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, not saying that she did, but it's just odd because I definitely didn't have that scratch under my eye when I left the house that night. But when I came home, I had it, and that was after interacting with your wife.
Maybe she has like one of those voodoo dolls that she has like under our bed, and then she's just like, oh, Andy didn't talk to me nicely, so scratch.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past her.
Well, it's funny too because even besides some of the topics we'll be talking about today, there was actually some really interesting stuff that happened. Kind of like more in kind of like some weird stuff that happened in like the NASCAR history world, where there's actually been like a huge mystery dating back to 1982. There was a driver that was known by the name of L.W. Wright, who just up in the legend is he appeared for this race at Talladega, and then because he fell out of the race, and then had a bunch of checks that bounced, and NASCAR was looking for him, and the people that had owed that gave him money were looking for him, and he just disappeared. And no one knew what the fuck happened to this guy for 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
One of the podcasts I listened to, they're a NASCAR history podcast. They were the guys that run this. They were some of the the guys that ran the NASCAR newspaper called the Winston Cup Scene.
Mm-hmm.
And they found this guy. They'd been trying to solve the mystery of what happened to this guy and like what his story was. And Monday we got the interview. We not only did find the guy, but we got to hear his voice. We got to hear his side of the story, and it's just like, wow, this is really cool that this old mystery was solved.
Was he hiding under the bleachers on the at the speedway this entire time?
No, he actually wasn't. And the fact that he wasn't running away from predators or anything crazy like that. Like he it's like he even said, like, if someone says that I owe them $30,000, I'd love to hear have them look me in the face and say that I owe them that money, because I don't know that. I don't owe anybody any money. Everyone got paid back. There was no bounce checks. There's none of that stuff. And it was more of those things like where he was really only had enough funding for a couple races. He made one, fell out of it, and then he attempted to make another and wasn't able to make it. And that was kind of the end of his NASCAR career. But it was just kind of this weird guy that just he popped up all of a sudden and then just disappeared, and no one knew what happened to him. And it was just kind of like I maybe that doesn't interest anybody at all on you or anybody other than me. But I know all about that the legend of this guy just disappearing, vanishing off the face of the earth. and just to have that like mystery solved is really cool, and the guy's story is really interesting, and even like the story just to find the guy is interesting. Uh, but yeah, no, so that was kind of like my week. That the most well up until like some of our news items that came up, like that was the most exciting piece of news that I had all week.
Yeah, I was in a similar situation where I was wondering what we talk about. Of course, obviously, we're going to be talking about the new Ministry of Truth that Biden is putting together. Uh, but yeah, up until last night, I was just like, yeah, what else could we talk about? Again, other than other than Elon Musk, which is now like I'm really just not interested in talking about anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a great Bible verse that goes, "Ask and you shall receive," and we got it late last night. I guess we'll just go right into it then.
Are we gonna start with that one? Okay.
Yeah.
We'll start with
Yeah, because like there's nothing. Is there anything that I want to share about my week or weekend? I mean, other than the fact that we got together and your wife was being a pain in my ass.
Don't worry, she was being a pain in my ass too. So if it makes you feel any better,
not as much as you think, but
and she was kind of being a pain in everyone's ass, to be honest. God, I love her, but God, it's just like, can you you gotta
just tone it down. Bring it down. I mean, yeah, because there's like the whole scene out, when we were leaving, to go to the karaoke place, and like, I was like, I thought you had a bad hip, I was like, how the hell did you keep up with me?
Nuts.
But yeah, it's just like, on the way over. I mean, I'm sure you love the peace and quiet, but I had to, I had to deal with her like poking me, like as I was driving, and just like it's like it's like, hey, I'm driving right now. Could you like maybe not do something that could cause us just to crash?
Now you know what I deal with every fucking time.
I mean, honestly, she's like the kid on the bus that like messes with the bus driver.
I can't see.
He's like, oh, Mr. Bus Driver, like constantly asking questions. Like, oh, what does that button do? What does that button do? Why is your name Larry?
Yeah, people are gonna get the wrong idea that I'm like some asshole that like, that I hate my wife and like I want her to die and like she's terrible, and it's like, and we tell the worst stories about her. It's like,
I know. Yeah, maybe we should. All right, maybe we should have a new rule: no talking bad about our wives or significant others.
no, I don't have a, because she doesn't watch this. I don't give a shit. But like it's more of like the like some of the stories are they're not exaggerated, but it's it's we're punching up a little bit, but
it's mostly true except for a lie or two.
Yeah. Dude, that line is going in my repertoire of all. Yeah, that's a movie line that I will use a lot. I love that. I love that line.
Yeah, it's very clever and so useful in any situation.
Yeah, it's like I said. It's I just feel I understand Al Bundy to a degree that I never did before. I'm like, dude, this guy, I loved him before, but like he's a spirit animal. Like if
right?
I like
yeah, you now get it. It's like you now understand how you could love somebody, but then also
want them to die and burn in hell.
or just like love them, but still find them to be very annoying.
I think my three favorite like ads in like television would go Al Bundy, Red Foreman, and Hank Hill. Like those three, like that's a trifecta.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with either of them.
No, I don't think you can.
But yeah, just my weekend wasn't super eventful. Just spending time, hanging out with you and your wife and other friends, and then well, I'll just say this: I was disappointed that we weren't able to go karaoke the Friday night that we were originally uh, slated to go. But yeah, it was still a good time on Saturday. I was hoping to have the Saturday off because my Saturdays, just like even just the past month, were just so jam packed. It would have been nice to just have like a nice downtime kind of Sunday or Saturday.
Yeah, I understand because to be honest, I kind of wanted to. That was my hope too because I kind of wanted to not go anywhere, and it didn't quite work out that way. But it was. I'm glad that you came anyways. It made a lot of fun. So.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, I was only there at special request from Jennifer. So
yeah.
if I didn't show up, I'd feel like a dick. Not that I'm opposed to being a dick, but for your best friend, you kind of have to, you just have to do it. And I say this to Rob's wife, who never watches the show anyways. But yeah, she's Jennifer's my best friend, and I can't help that she likes me better.
Oh, that's great! I love it.
All right. Yeah.
That annoys the shit out of her too, right?
I know because okay, you guys gonna think me a dick. I mean, you guys already know that I'm a dick. But I at every turn try to undermine Rob's wife's confidence, and it's funny because like and here's the thing, cause I do it because I know she's not confident, and for a confident person, it wouldn't be as like bothersome or annoying, but for her, because I know that she has insecurities, I have perverse pleasure torturing her.
Yeah, and to be honest, I do it to the degree that you do, but I try to do the same thing to help, like kind of like start her confidence. Like kind of, it's like you gotta be more assertive. And all these like she has like these things that she does that throughout the week. I was like, this would be solved if you were like me. Be a dick. I seriously like I don't.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and don't get it twisted, folks. I'm not a dick for dickish sake. In my own way, I am trying to help her. I am the resistance training. I'm
It's painful.
and it has been working because there are times where I'll kind of what is it? I'll mock her or something, and she'll actually kind of retort back instead of just like collapsing like a house of cards and be like, oh, did you hear what Andy called me, or did you hear what he said? And sometimes she'll just even like the simple like, oh, shut up, stupid, and it's like, okay.
And we actually celebrate that. It's like, yeah,
I know. Interestingly enough, even when she like kind of parries back towards me, I'm just like, yes.
All right.
I'm, like on the outside, like the real, like the dick coach that's like always screaming in your face, whatever. It's like you think he's an asshole, but he's helping you.
Exactly.
So. Yeah. So. That was good times either way. With all that, let's get into the news topics. You want to do most recent or?
We'll do
So-
whatever you want to do, Andy. I'm
Okay.
fine with that. Wherever we start.
Okay. Well, because I was starting to go into one topic, but I can't remember which one that was.
We were. I guess it was going to be the leak from the Supreme Court.
Okay. All right. Then yeah, let's just do that. For those of you unaware, late last night on Politico, the news broke that a preliminary decision was leaked from the Supreme Court, where I believe it was Justice Alito authored a decision for the dissolution of Roe versus Wade. And this is pretty significant thing because nothing like this has ever happened in the court's history. And of course, it's so interesting though because I mean, don't let me mischaracterize it as like super late last night. It was like probably like around 8 or so. Pacific Coast time. But even at that hour, which I guess in the East Coast would only be 11. There were already like people out there like at the Supreme Court like protesting.
This is the thing that like I had to think about. Like now, don't get me wrong, we are gonna show some joy in this, but I want to start off with why the leak at that point then, and who's behind that leak and what is their motive?
Well, right. Well, although I don't necessarily know if I want to. I mean, there is a suspected person, but it hasn't been confirmed. But even still, I don't even know if I want to really bring up the name because I don't want to give this guy any more attention. But what to your point is is it just someone who's got an axe to grind or someone who thinks he's being a hero and because this is a fucking what is it disbar this is like grounds for like disbarment for this guy.
That's there are legal implications here because while not like there are some low level confidentiality agreements that a lot of these people the justices have and like the staffers that help them. There is a level of confidentiality that they are supposed to carry with them that they sign contracts for, and also there are some legal ramifications to this, and I hope there is an investigation and the person or persons that are involved in this that they receive their due punishment. That means that maybe they just get fired. Okay, that's and or there might be some other more serious ramifications from this. But then I wonder, like, are they doing it at the behest of someone like higher up? Are they, and like you said, like there's people already, at pretty much like when this quote unquote leak happened, people are many people are starting to gather at the Supreme Court already. It's like that's a little weird. This seems like the media got it, but I almost wonder if this leaked to more than one source. You know what I mean? And it just feels a little weird. Not that like
I mean, obviously this is. I mean, technically, this is a distraction. This is a distraction.
Exactly. That's why because it's like okay, we're getting the truth in a sense, but what are they? What there's something like not right at the same time. What's actually like the statement itself, the ruling. Those all sound like Alito's words from what it looks like. So it does seem like this is gonna happen. But
Right,
the
but then, but also to keep in mind, this decision, this is a draft. It was a draft of an opinion. Um, that was from February. It could have gone through several different changes since then. You know, and so like who knows? Like maybe the opinion's been changed or slightly modified. But we don't know. Like right now, we only know something that was written like 2 months ago. But
Yeah,
even
because
still,
we weren't supposed to hear anything about this until like June, I think. It wasn't supposed to be until like a little bit later this year.
right. But even if this draft, is mostly correct and it's pointing towards a trajectory of Roe versus Wade being overturned, I think so much the better.
Yeah. So, but despite all that, because like I said, I there is something nefarious. Like this is, I think, done. This is just my thought on like why it might have been doing it, why this might have been leaked. This is to gin up like kind of like the media, slash a lot of the the leftist politicians and activists who are pro baby murder,
Mm-hmm.
and allow them to gin up a lot of hatred, make their protests, kind of whine and complain, to try to get their way, um, and that's kind of like what I see as being the potential. I don't know like if that's gonna amount to anything, but that's kind of like what I mean. Like you said, we're even after like like 11 o'clock on the East Coast, people are already starting to gather at the Supreme Court. So this is being leaked to more than like just the media.
Right. Yeah. I
All
mean,
these
yeah.
people
It
were
just it feels coordinated. Um,
there's no there might not be some like dark smoke filled room, but all these people are collaborating with each other in some form or fashion.
right. Although one thing that was surprising and encouraging is that uh, this morning when I was looking through my social media feed, I did see videos of surprisingly um, LGBT, or at least they carried signs that read like LGBT for pro-life or atheist for pro-life. And yeah, and there were some people who like on the other side out there countering you know the the pro baby murder protests, and I was actually very encouraged.
Yeah, that's really good to hear. And what's gonna happen? And see here there's a lot of misnomer in this. Like this ruling, if this is what's gonna happen, is it's not gonna end abortion. So like let's not pretend
Right? Yeah.
that's gonna
Let's
happen.
put out that fire right now, okay?
Yeah.
Because that
But
it's just moronic.
so what it is going to do is we're going to go back to back to the pre Roe versus Wade decision. Yeah, and so that meant that it was the states
Yeah, it
had
was left to the
they
states.
could choose their own rules. So like California, we already know. I mean, we talked about it last week. We
Hmm.
are pro baby murder here. So
Yeah, I mean,
you want to go
we not personally,
not
but
yeah
the state, the current governing body, in Sacramento is for
We read
the
the
murder
names.
baby. Yeah,
For
we read
Biden.
we read the names.
And so you want your abortion in California wide open. You can do whatever
Right,
the
come
hell you
on
want.
down. Like, I mean, yeah, I think they're even trying to come up with some sort of program so people from out of state can come and
Oh, it's happening. Like it's just
yeah,
that's
that could come and have abortions, have the abortion, and uh, have like, and then like also convalesce here, all on the in the California tax paradigm.
But then you look at like Oklahoma, Texas, a lot of these
Mississippi.
states that are passing, really good laws. In Oklahoma especially, like we're just gonna get rid of it. Like they're 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 like, yeah, no, we are not gonna allow you to kill your kid, no matter what.
Right.
And so essentially, what we're gonna get is more of federalism. States, being able to control their own destiny, which is what the whole point of our country is. And so it's a win for federalism. So if you like that, this is good. Um, the other thing about this so we get that. A lot of the oh shoot, wow, I had another thought and it just escaped my head. God damn it.
Yeah, I know. Okay, let me take over for you then. Uh, but yeah, like we said, this won't make it illegal. It's just no longer recognized by the federal government, and because point to me where it says freedom of speech. Show me where the freedom to bear arms. Show me where the freedom of illegal search and seizures. Point me to the right, the enumerated right that says you can kill your baby. It's not there. Like you can read it, frontwards, backwards, sideways. You won't find that enumerated right in the
Yeah.
Constitution because it doesn't exist. And the decision was garbage. From Jump Street.
I remember what I wanted to say. This could also, make a big blow into Planned Parenthood as well, because now they're no,
Right?
because they're not.
Because they can't get federal funding.
That's going to be a big thing, or at least the funding that is given to them might be diminished, because legally they're only well, at least as far as the states go, because now, right now they're all over the country. And there are going to be states that if this gets overturned, they're out of there. So that's a lot of their funding that's getting cut. From maybe not, maybe the federal government might still subsidize some stuff, which is horrible. But as far as the states go, like there's gonna, I'm sure Texas is gonna like no, Oklahoma no, Florida probably not.
Yeah, Mississippi now.
Yeah, a lot of these states are going to be like, yeah, you're out of here, and you can, those buildings are they're gonna salt the earth with those, where those buildings are.
Yeah,
Now they're
exactly.
still going to operate in in California, New York, a lot of
The coastal
blue
power centers.
the coastal power centers, and so that adds. So like I said, this is a this is a good start. This is a good victory. But at the same time, like, remember, like, babies are still being killed. This isn't, a time to, take our foot off the gas. Like, I think we can still, it's gonna take time. Um, but if we utilize our voices, our power, our money, we can make changes. Because I never thought that this would ever end in our lifetime, to be honest. And the fact that like we might be on the verge of a decision like this, that just gives me a whole lot of hope.
Hmm. Yeah, and
I know
actually,
I know that at the end of like last year, we felt like we're defeated. Yeah, but like we were looking for signs of hope, and this was one of those like we're starting to see a shift in the whole pro-choice movement, and it's going more towards like, hey, like people once people start to see like the sonograms and they start to understand more about like the science behind how babies are how they develop and stuff like that, it's like, wait a second, their heartbeat's already going at like this quickly, and you can starting to develop you know these things after only like a couple weeks. Like, no, we can't kill that. That's weird. That stuff that like these ghouls aren't wanting to. They don't want the public to know about that stuff like that. They want to manipulate these young women who are scared and have been abandoned by their boyfriends, husbands, or have been brutally like raped or molested by their family members or whoever, and they're scared. And so these monsters, like they prey on these people. It's like, oh well, if you just need to get an abortion. Don't worry about it. We won't tell anybody.
right. And actually, like as you were saying about how there's been a big shift in even the pro-choice movement. Yeah, like you know, uh, the unfettered access to abortion, or like the abortion of up to moments before birth. That's actually a fringe belief held by a small segment of that side of the aisle. It's like I forget what poll it was, but there was a poll done, and that 50% of pro-choice people say that are against the third trimester abortion.
The
You
Ralph
know,
Northam approach.
I'm sorry,
That
what?
California.
Right,
I was
yeah, the
saying,
Ralph Northern, yeah. But yeah, they're like 50% of pro-choice people are against and you might say like, but think about it like that. That's 50%. That's half of the people who consider themselves pro-choice. They're against the third trimester birth. And that's not a insignificant amount. Even though it's still kind of horrifying to think that of the people polled for that survey, like 50% of them still thought it was okay to uh, abort at the third trimester. But again, we might chalk it up to people who are unfamiliar with like what that really means or what that truly entails. So maybe if that other 50% that is still for the third trimester, if they were to get a little bit more information, perhaps they'd swing over to the against. But again, the pro-choice side is being shaken up, and I think and I shaken up for good, because because I think more and more it's coming out that this like this unfettered abortion as contraception, up until the third trimester idea is not popular at all. It's only popular amongst a fringe group within the group larger group.
and this is what this goes back to back at that back when that decision was back when that decision was made. You know, I don't know exactly how good there were obviously like the sonograms, I suppose, to a degree, but like the science wasn't necessarily, and I it's like the science changed. Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. What it is just like a lot of the technology was not necessarily available to like really see what's going on. We understood to a degree, but like as technology has developed, I mean, now they have like those 3D sonograms. They have.
Yeah, a friend of mine, him and his wife just had one of those 3D sonograms of their baby,
Yeah,
and it was
it's
great.
crazy. Like it looks,
Right. Oh,
it's wow. It's
yeah,
it's great.
and speaking of just technology, because um, one of the arguments is viability. One of the arguments uh, for the pro-choice side is, oh, what about viability? It's like, oh, like maybe like 20 years ago could be that could be argued, but now like uh, the the earliest a baby was born and kept alive and like viable and remained alive was at 21 weeks. That's half the time of normal gestation of 40 weeks.
Well,
and
and even
and so
then,
like just think about that, like the idea of viability. It's like, well, yeah, now we have better technology that to the point where a baby could like gestate for half of its time and it could still survive.
that's the other thing. Like what people don't realize, like yeah, like that where 50 years ago, that baby that far, being premature, they're dead.
Hmm.
which is unfortunate. But now today, that same baby that like I think like they have it down to like what like 3 or 4 months premature, they can still like keep that baby alive and
Yeah,
like have it like
21 weeks, half the
that,
gestational period.
that's
Yeah, that's
crazy.
ridiculous. Yeah, again,
Yeah,
20 years ago, maybe 50-50 chance that that baby lives. But now it's like, no, we got this. 21 weeks, no problem.
I mean, with a little bit of help, but still, that's amazing. And not only are they like able to like survive, but like some of these kids are growing up and becoming like productive, healthy adults.
Right. Yeah, and and these and and I'm not like an expert on like on anything, but I do my own research, which the left will say like, oh, that's racist. It's like doing doing my own research is racist, but I'm a crippled Asian man. How is what about me doing my own? What about me? Double checking some stuff is racist.
I mean,
You
hell,
know,
if you were conceived by leftists, you'd be dead, Andy.
what was it?
If you were conceived by leftists, you'd be dead.
Yeah, no, I mean, what is it like now? Like they do the chromosome test to see if your child has Down syndrome, and then they give you the option of whether to abort or not. Which
Or with
again,
like,
horrible. Even if it even if my cousin you know was able to do a test when she was pregnant with my niece, and and then she could know before like that she would have autism, like I would still not advocate for her to have an abortion.
what
Um,
was it like? It was either like the Netherlands or like Norway or Sweden, like where like, oh, we've gotten rid of Down syndrome. No, you just murdered all the
yeah, I
Down
just
syndrome.
murdered a bunch of kids.
Well, and the other thing, what I found out too, and that science too is also a little there. Like they said,
Right.
there is some
It's
truth.
not like 100%. Um,
It's not 100%, and so like, oh, and a lot of the companies that do those tests are funded through I think they're funded through like Planned Parenthood too, like, where it's like, oh no, your baby has Down syndrome. Oh no, it's like, what do you want to do? Hoping that like is far, that the baby is semi far along, and then they decide like, well, I don't want our baby to suffer, so I guess maybe I should just get rid of it, and you know
right.
that
I
that's
mean,
kind of how
again, to draw on my own experience, like I knew a couple who, this is a long time ago, and like their kid now is like fully grown. But when the mother was pregnant with the child, they did a test, and then it wasn't 100% conclusive, but the test indicated that the baby might have Down syndrome. And it's you know for everyone. Let's not get let's just be real. Everyone wants the perfect baby, and perfect. I mean, just like healthy, without defect. You know,
Right.
as would I. Like, I mean, I don't like want if and when I have kids, I don't want them to like have the same condition that I do. I'm just gonna be honest with that. But they did the test and they said like it was inconclusive, but the kid might have Down syndrome. But the kid came, and and there was no Down syndrome. There, or at least not that was like apparent. He's the kid's now like in his early 20s. Going to college. You know, great athlete. But
And the thing is, like, kids that have like autism or Down syndrome, they're not stupid. Like,
no, yeah, my niece
they're
who has autism, like yeah, she's not like she's not verbal, very much. Like she knows like some phrases, but she knows everything. Like you tell, like when she gets mischievous and she's like, and we tell her not to do something, she'll give you like a little look, like, and
yeah,
then and it's like, oh, don't touch that. Oh, don't touch that. And she's like, looking, and like slowly her hand will go up to like
like,
the vase or something, and it's like everything I'm saying.
and that's what I'm saying. It's like, what people, because these ghouls think that, like, oh, we don't want to have like this retarded child. It's like they're not retarded. They're not stupid. Do they have like some limitations? Certainly,
Yeah,
but
yeah, oh
that
yeah, yeah.
doesn't
Will
mean
they not have like the same capacity as kids like her, like his or her age? Yes.
certainly, yeah. But they're not dumb. Like,
Yeah.
don't get me like, they're not like some like where they're not like Joe Biden.
Oh man, who could be? Um,
And like I said, and I don't want to. And here's the other thing, because I don't want to disgrace other people who are going through like Alzheimer's or dementia or aphasia, like real people who have like are suffering through that, who have actually lived a productive life. Uh, but Joe Biden was an idiot before. He was retarded before became a senile, and it's just honestly, it's just desserts that are happening to this guy, and
yeah, the
I'll be
senility
honest,
just accentuated the stupidness.
yeah, but it's just I'm cautiously optimistic with this potential decision. I think obviously it's good. It's a good win. We should celebrate, but at the same time, this should not be like the final stop. Like, yeah, it's like, oh, we're done, guys. Woo! It's like, no. Until there's something like
Right. I mean,
codified.
yeah, we don't want to Iwo Jima this
Yeah,
moment.
yeah. No, don't get me wrong. I
Yeah,
am
I mean,
all
for
for
those of
that.
you who don't get that reference, everyone sees like that. Everyone knows the image of like the footage of them raising the flag or whatever. That was only on day one. Iwo Jima went on for like at least I think like another month before
Yeah,
before
it
they
was
fully took the island.
it was one of the bloodiest fucking battles in
Yeah,
World War
in the
II.
Pacific.
Really awful.
Um,
Um,
yeah, but like yeah, so let's not have like one of those moments where you think like we hear this good news today, but it's like, oh yeah, we won, but like it's not secured yet. This
and
is day one of Roe versus Wade. We still have a long bloody fight yet ahead of us. So let's secure our chin straps and lean into it.
and and I'm also, usually I am like very anti, like, hey, let's just make a federal law, like, across the land. But I think this is something where we need to make the opposite style decisions. Like we need to protect, you know, children. It's like, and that doesn't mean like you can't give up your kids for adoption. That doesn't mean like, oh, you have a miscarriage, you're gonna get executed, and like, or to be honest, like if women are manipulated, there are a lot of scared women who are manipulated by these monsters,
Mhm.
to murder their child, and they don't know better. And I'm not even advocating for those women
No,
um
yeah, of course. Yeah, no
to
one's
be like
saying like
prosecuted in any way. Like it's like
right. I mean, yeah,
they're,
it
they're
just if you look at the Texas law, it doesn't incriminate the mother. You know, it charges the
the
people
abortion.
around the well at least it charges the people around her or ancillary like the Uber driver or the person um the receptionist at the clinic or the doctor themselves who performed this despicable thing. It never said that it's going to charge the mother for like murder.
Yeah, because honestly, like a lot of them don't know, and they're manipulated into it.
Right,
It
exactly. Because all they hear is from like the mainstream, and like the mainstream says, "Oh, like Handmaid's Tale," you know.
give me a fucking break.
Yeah,
Um, and like I said, and like I said, there's so many other options. Like not every kid is going to end up in the foster care. There are parents lined out around the block to help babies. Like
right.
just to adopt babies, just you're gonna find somebody. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's so hilarious because like yeah, you bring up the abortion thing. I remember I was scrolling through one of the one of the accounts I follow, and under a post like this girl, uh, she commented, why don't we pass a law saying that living, breathing women get to choose to do with their body? And it's like, oh, when was the last time any of y'all adopted a kid? But that. Oh, no, 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 no. Yeah, she said those things, but it's like, oh yeah, let's prioritize actually living, breathing women over potential babies. And I just thought that comment was hilarious because okay, so she admits that it's a baby, it can be a baby, but then also it's like you're ready to snuff out a potential woman. It completely went over her head that that what she was advocating for was another life. Um, and yeah, I mean, I have compassion on these uninformed women.
Yeah,
Uh, but yeah, but it's just so funny. It's just like because I make it a policy not to get into internet uh, debates,
yeah,
you know. But like I was really tempted to just like to comment back to her. It's like so you're okay, like because you admit that it's a baby, so that means it can be a potential woman. So you're okay with killing potential women. Even though you advocate for like women who are living and breathing to be able to choose over their body, but not this potential woman who just happens to be in a certain location.
it's like, oh, it's a woman's choice. Like, well, so yet the thing that's inside her has separate DNA, has its own heartbeat, has its own brain,
Right? Like, yeah,
so
let's
on.
okay, yeah, that thing inside that woman's body is XX, so that means it's gonna be a woman. So you're fine with killing that woman?
Yeah. Well, and what was back um number? I think it was like a year or a couple years ago. Um, there was someone that like went around. It's like, and they were talking about like how they were trying to like, hey, we're trying to save like these. We're trying to try to save a couple things. Like would you be willing to sign about saving like baby eagles or something like that, like like these or like baby puppy, something like kind of like, oh, it's like, oh yeah, of course we want to save all those like baby eagles.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want them to be harmed. And it's like, oh, okay, well, what about like baby humans? Oh no, no, dude, that's too far. What the fuck you talking? And like and this
Oh my
was
gosh.
now this came after like we had kind of like we had joked about like how it's like, okay, well, you turn that around, like if somebody was aborting like baby puppies or like baby kittens, like like before like the mom could give birth to her litter, and it's like, and that people would be up in arms about that.
Yeah,
So
I
why not
mean, and I'm telling you, dude, it's the day is gonna come when they're gonna start aborting. Yeah, they're gonna abort puppies. You know.
Well, PETA's been doing that for ages,
No, no,
but
no. I mean, no. I'm gonna like they're gonna go like they're gonna like abort puppies. Like the mother is gonna be pregnant and they're just gonna abort the puppies. That day's
you
coming.
think so?
I guarantee you. I wish I was just joking with this, but I could see that day coming.
I mean, besides like Dr. Fauci or like PETA, like it's,
Yeah, no, like yeah. Again, I wish I would just make I was just coming up with a satire or I was just making up a joke, but like that day's
no, I
coming.
don't
That
think
day,
no, I don't
I
think that
promise you.
that's right either. Um, I mean, but like at the same time, a human is different than a dog.
Yeah, of course.
But the fact that people are more reviled
Hmm.
about like a dog dying as opposed to a baby,
Hmm.
that I have a problem with.
Yeah, absolutely. And
And I'm
I'm
not
like,
saying that like
and those people who do like try to throw, the onus on like, on the pro life people. It's like, oh, then why didn't you adopt babies? It's like, well, why don't you? Just throw the onus back onto them because they're like saying like, oh, well, if you care so much, why don't you adopt, why don't you adopt those babies or whatever, But it's like,
and it's funny
but
because
you could
like
just you could throw that
what?
argument right back at them. It's like, well, you care so much too, right? You care about, you don't want, babies to be abused or whatever through and like, turn them into human junk, through the, the system, quote unquote. So why don't you do something? Why,
I've been for 5, so
like, yeah,
what's
if you are so compassionate, if you are so about, the fair treatment of others or whatever, why don't you step up? Why don't you adopt some kids? Of course,
and
immediately then they'll say like, oh, well, oh, I can't, I can't, take care of anybody, usually because you're talking to some like stupid kid. So we're like,
yeah.
oh, well, I'm like, oh, I'm not established in my job or blah 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 blah. It's like, well, then why are you expecting me to, take care of the solution?
Well, I adopted 5 handicapped kids, so what's your excuse?
Right. I mean, well, you would actually have to adopt the
Yeah.
5 handicap
Well,
kids.
yeah,
But
I
yeah,
haven't
it's
done
just
that myself, but like there are people that do that.
yeah. I mean, yeah, there are people that do that. But then again, it's just like it's all I'm just trying to give like tactics to people because you know all they'll do is like turn try point the guns at you. It's like, oh, well, why don't you adopt kids? What are you doing? Da 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 da. And all
They're
you have to do
disingenuous.
all you have to
They're
do is turn all you
disingenuous
have to
off of
do
it.
is grab the gun and turn it back on them and be like, well, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You claim that you're the compassionate, you're the loving, people. Then why aren't you adopting these kids? Why aren't you taking on the burden of of saving these children? And of course, immediately they'll say like, oh, well, it's like, well, it's not my kid. Da, 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 da. Well, it's like it's not my kid. Then why do you expect me to shoulder the load? You say that I'm the Nazi. So why are you asking a Nazi to raise a kid?
Yeah, but yeah, no, I'm just like I said, cautiously optimistic about what's going on. I think this is a good thing. I'm hoping that this is what ends up becoming the final decision. It's not going to end abortion, just I mean, I don't. People, the media is lying to you. This is not going to end abortion. This is not
Right,
gonna.
or yeah, don't believe fucking George Takei when he says like, oh, this is just gonna turn, make women second class citizens. No, it's not. No, it's not.
That butt remmer who probably like when he farts he shits himself because he's been fucked in the ass too
No,
much.
no, 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 no. His farts sound like.
You know this like that they have like a lot of old gays have descended anuses like where like they essentially are
Yeah,
incontinent
exactly.
because
That's why they smell of lavender, because they're trying to cover up that shit smell.
yeah, like because they wear diapers because they can't fart without shitting themselves. I don't say that like to be like a dig. It's just that's just reality. The asshole is not meant to take that punishment.
Yeah, the anus is not a sex organ.
It's not.
All right, and I mean, and that's like that goes for women as well. All right, because like that, I don't know why, but like, yeah, anal like never really appealed to me.
Yeah, it's gross because you get like you get if you're into that you're getting a lot of shit on your cock. I'm sorry,
Hmm.
it's just happening. If you like that, you're a fucking weirdo.
Yeah, and I mean, and like, yeah, because you see it in porn, but that's not representative of real life. You know, like what they have to go through for that one scene. Like the girl, like the woman has to like, basically take like prep. Like the
Yeah.
like the stuff that you have to take before you get like a colonoscopy. That's what they have to do to flush out their assholes.
Yep. Have you? Yeah, because you never see like there's no like shit.
Yeah, there's no
Like,
shit particles on the guy's dick. If you ever stop to like analyze the uh, the porno, it's like you type, you zoom in, it's like there's no particles of shit on that because the
nope.
girl took prep before and flushed out her colon.
And the other thing too is like it's. I mean, we all laugh at like the ass to mouth cards in Cards Against Humanity, but it's fucking
Yeah, that shit's
gross.
gross. Yeah, and I mean that's probably that's probably what AIDS was really. It was just like guys sticking their dicks into assholes and like just getting like getting the bacterial infection. Because if you look into it, the symptoms for AIDS in America were totally different from the symptoms of AIDS in Africa, like completely different.
Yep.
And it's like in Africa there are so many um, cultures that are against like sodomy, like it's not just like male female sodomy, but like like who are truly anti-gay, and so like if they found you in the act of homosexuality, they just kill you right then and there. So like
Yeah.
so exact and like and exactly like how did AIDS get to Africa?
Well, and I also wonder too because there was a lot of um, bad blood transfusions because they weren't testing for certain things.
Well,
Because
see,
a lot of
here's my thing. They purposefully allowed tainted blood to get in so it can know so it was no longer prominent only amongst the gays.
well, because like what I do know from we talked with our friend Santa Claus who
Mm-hmm.
went to Vietnam, and he himself he had to get like I think like a blood transfusion, which he ended up because they weren't testing the blood
Mm-hmm.
back then, or like they weren't or not testing for certain things.
Mm-hmm.
He developed hepatitis in
Mm-hmm.
his liver, and it didn't come to fruition till many years later. But I honestly think that that's kind of like what ended up happening in a lot of cases where you have, yeah, these guys that are, fucking random dudes at a truck stop who are giving blood to people, like, or like, people are, donating blood, and like, oh, they go through something and they end up having to have a blood transfusion, and without them knowing it, now they're carrying this virus, and that's how it develops. And now there's a lot more, like, people are more, they scrutinize that a hell of a lot more, but this is under the Dr. Fauci era of things, so he doesn't know what the fuck's going on. So who, it's just kind of, or doesn't care, but it's just
Although
stuff like that
I'm
happens.
to the point where I don't think AIDS is actually a thing. I just think it's like what is it? Exhaustion and weakened immune system, which allows because like the whole lesions and things like that's a symptom from the AZT. It isn't like AIDS. It's just it only appears after someone has taken AZT.
Well, I mean, that, what's crazy is, like, because now, like, the treatment for or the supposed treatment for that stuff is, I mean, uh, Magic Johnson has supposedly lived with this HIV for what, 30 years now?
Yeah, exactly, because it doesn't exist.
That's
It's not
right.
real.
And it's like, and then you have those commercials on TV, the PrEP, like the P little R, and the capital P little R capital EP, with all those
Oh yeah, yeah.
quote unquote straight guys,
All the gay, all
but also
the
straight guys
yeah,
that are
all the
on that are
HIV
on.
medication ads are almost exclusively directed towards homosexuals.
All those guys are fucking gay, dude.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
so gay.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that it's a gay disease, but come on, like, I mean, like,
Yeah, okay.
they
It's
go
not a
to the
gay
cities,
disease, but it is nearly exclusively affects gay people.
they are catering to their audience. So it's just
Right. Although yeah, like they throw yeah, and like I know like there's this one ad that always plays, but like yeah, they threw like one chick in there, but it's like yeah, but she's not a lesbian. So it's not like so it's like exclusively a male homosexual disease.
well, even like we've talked about too, like where the way that Fauci handled the whole thing, like old gays hate him.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a faction of the gay community, quote unquote, that absolutely hate Anthony Fauci because
Well,
they knew what he was doing to other gay people. Like they were like there was a treatment that was supposed to come out like I mean almost like kind of like in a warp speed kind of fashion, but like it was supposed to come out, but Dr. Fauci is the one that like put a kibosh on it.
well, and a lot of his
And
rhetoric.
he's the one that interestingly enough, everyone's talking about like, oh, like, well, you're using drugs that aren't prescribed for that thing. It's like AZT is not an AIDS drug. It's a failed cancer drug.
Yeah, but
So talk
it's very
about
risky.
prescribing things off script.
Yeah,
This isn't something new, all right? Like people like saying like, oh, ivermectin, like, oh, you're not supposed to use it for this. It's like, they're using it for off script. It's like, well, AZT is off script too because that's not AIDS drug. They're using it to treat AIDS, but it's a failed cancer drug.
yeah,
Again, failed cancer drug.
and that it's fine that, like, oh, it failed in this sense, but like we discovered through that failure that it works for this other thing.
Right, but
Okay,
yeah, but like yeah, but then like in the case of AZT, it wasn't even proven that it was helping people with AIDS.
God, what? Wouldn't it be funny? Like, it's like, well, we were trying to treat your cancer, but it also turns out you have AIDS, and that's actually kind of going down. But your cancer's still like, so I don't know. It's like a win lose kind of thing. I don't know.
They found the one homo who had cancer and AIDS.
God, that would suck. Well, we treated one thing. The AIDS is under
So
control.
yeah, it's like this is like a good news, bad news thing.
But your cancer is just, man, it is really progressing.
Yeah, it's like your body is more cancer than person.
Yeah. But it's crazy shit like this. Like, but yeah, like I said, I'm excited. I don't know about you. This is if this happens, wow. To be honest, I'll be shocked. I'll be shocked.
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, like let's not treat this like the first day of Iwo Jima, folks. All right, let's tighten our chin straps and really lean into this because it hasn't been overturned yet. It hasn't been overturned yet, and the lefts, the lefty loonies, they're gonna go out there. They're gonna be out there, you know, up until they. I mean, since like this drop, they're gonna be out there in front of the Supreme Court, day and night up until like the final decision does come through. And because we know that they're jobless losers, they can, and they're being funded by George Soros. So
Yeah,
they'll be able to camp out there indefinitely.
we watched what happened in 2020 and the Occupy Wall Street bullshit, so we know.
Wait, Occupy Wall Street?
Yeah, it's the same people.
Well, because you said 2020, so I got confused.
No, I was saying like just a couple examples. We had all the riots.
Oh, you meant like 2020, like the George Floyd and Occupy Wall Street.
Yeah, they're all the same people. That's the problem.
Okay.
They're all jobless losers.
Right. Okay. All right. Just need that clarification. Sorry, they're all the same group. They're all funded by the same big purse. This is not the time. Like as Robert said, this is not the time for us to take the foot off the gas. If anything, we have to keep the foot on we have to floor it.
Run those protesters over like Homer Simpson, like Homer Simpson with the plow.
Right. That's right, Mr. Plow.
It's like, I want to like be able to to get this through, Mr. Simpson, but these darn protesters. You got it, Mr. President.
It's so funny. It's so funny that Matt Matt Groening, was it that he was actually a supporter of George W. Bush until George W. Bush came out against like cartoons like The Simpsons, and that's why they did that that episode where Homer goes to war with George Bush that moves into the neighborhood.
That's yeah. You know what? Well, I know for like the fact that like because Bush was so against like The Simpsons, like because I think like the first thing was just more like something fun because he was just like that was who was the president at the time, and so they were just kind of doing a fun thing. But then because
maybe not supporter because Matt Groening's a leftist. But he didn't. He wasn't necessarily against the president. But when George Bush came out against him, that's when he's like, well, fuck you then. And then and he made that episode,
which was fucking fantastic.
Yeah,
it was so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, why don't we get into our next topic, which is also, well, this is not as exciting, but it's definitely horrifying.
Yep. Yeah. For those of you again not in the know, it just came. Again, like whether it was a bungled launch or it was leaked. President Biden is, basically creating his own Ministry of Truth. A la 1984, a la the Nazi Third Reich, a la North Korea,
I mean,
a la any totalitarian dictatorship in history.
Fahrenheit 451, A Brave New World. I mean, you name it. Like we're right at that precipice.
Yeah, I forget who tweeted it out, but they gently pointed out, like, Hitler had a Ministry of Truth, Castro had a Ministry of Truth, Kim Jong Un has a Ministry of Truth.
oh, well, then.
What do all these guys have in common? That's right, they're totalitarian dictators.
Oh, they were in good hands. All right. Oh, okay.
So Joe Biden's in good company.
And what's hilariously scary about this is the person that they put in charge of this was, she herself was right along with like the whole, Russia hoax, the Ukrainian shit, suppressing the information that was on Hunter Biden's laptop that the New York Post did a whole thing on, and it's like, oh no, we need to suppress that. And now because Twitter is no longer gonna be an arm for crazy leftists, it's just gonna be a platform where people can talk. Oh God, who that's so horrible that people can actually talk on this thing. So now all of a sudden you have all these politicians, the rhinos and the crazy leftist Democrats, like they're gonna say like, oh, Section 230, oh, this is horrible. They need to show that they're just gonna be this or that, and we need to we need to put regulations on speech. Oh, great. And so now we have the Ministry of Truth, which is a department of the Homeland Security.
Right. It's a subsection of the Department of Homeland Security. The entity. Yeah, it's essentially another alphabet.
A department agency that should not exist anymore.
Yeah, it's going to be called the Disinformation Governance Board.
A department that should have ceased to exist back in 2004, at the very least.
Yeah. Okay. If such a thing came out during Bush, the left would be going crazy and denouncing it.
Yeah, but but no.
Now it's because it's one of their guys who's trying to make it happen. It's like, oh yeah, no, this is what was it on MSNBC? Like one of their contributors or whatever was saying it's like, oh no, well we have to have regulations, on these platforms and yada yada yada. It's like, what? It's like you're saying the quiet stuff out loud now.
No, the thing that bugs me the most is that, this organization that you're using, the Homeland Security, that was under the Bush administration, and apparently he was Hitler, right? So why does this organization still exist? It really should go back into merging with other functions of the government.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need Homeland Security anymore. I don't understand why it exists. And that's where the TSA lies. That's where this Ministry of Truth.
Yeah, even FEMA. FEMA's under the DHS. Basically all the stuff that is supposed to help us in our it's basically, what is it? It's kind of making a domestic version. It's like making a domestic version for CIA, because we all know that CIA cannot operate on U.S. soil.
But we have.
So yeah, all of this is all even the Patriot Act. Everyone thought that the Patriot Act was not going to apply to them.
Yeah.
But guess what? Guess what happened? It ended up applying to them.
that's the thing. It's like we have organizations that deal with that already. I'm not saying that the FBI is useless, because the original like idea of the FBI was to help, like it was a inland, helping to coordinate, like, where, to help, like, catch criminals that were going across state lines, because at the time, like, someone that, like, if they wanted to become a serial killer in California, and then all of a sudden they merge over to, like, Wisconsin, and they start killing people there. Well, California and Wisconsin, they're not talking to each other. They're
Right.
operating
There's
obviously
no,
in
yeah,
state. So the
yeah.
FBI is helping, try to, like, they are an interstate organization that's able to, like, help connect the dots. Oh shit, this guy, this killer was doing stuff in California and along with Wisconsin. Let's see if there's any other crimes in another, like, state or anywhere else where we can start connecting the dots. Let's see if we can kind of, like, tighten the rope on this guy. Great, I'm all for it. That's good. The CIA, or that is organization that's doing, like, spycraft and trying to figure out information about our enemies abroad. Good. I'm glad. That's great. I'm all for it. But now, like, you're trying to, like, no, we need, like, kind of like a CIA within the states, and we need this and that. It's like, no, stop it. We don't need all these stupid extra organizations. Like, we have the people. If you want to expand the personnel of a certain organization, fucking go for it. That's fine. But don't
Yeah, like,
let's
yeah,
not create
if you want to
another.
hire, more people, yes, do it. I don't care. But
That's
if you want
fine.
to, yeah, but don't create something new, which then, would make us, like, have to pay more in, like, taxes.
And
You
we're
know.
creating, if, like, for, like, and see, here's the thing, because if they do that, it's like, oh well, it can only be for a certain amount of time. Like, we can't carry that forever. Oh, so we'll just
Right.
create
Yeah.
a
I
new
mean,
organization.
yeah. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but those of you who travel a lot, like, airports and stuff, like, you like, all those, security checks and, like, the pat downs or whatever. Well, those were supposed to be temporary, but now they're permanent. Now,
The
like,
TSA was not a thing until
we
2000.
created a new government agency to handle all that shit, even though they were only supposed to be temporary. I mean, I remember back in the day when I was a kid, like, whenever, like, we took family member to the airport or whatever, we were able to go all the way to the gate with them,
Yeah.
right? And even if, like, yeah, and we were able to drop them off, at the gate, and say our goodbyes, there, then and there. But not anymore. Like, I remember as a kid, like, we were taking my grandma back, to the airport, and my dad went and, like, took me into, like, one of the terminals to go look at the airplanes, and all we had to do was, like, go through a metal detector, and we were in. No security pat downs, really. All my dad just had to, like, just had to walk. Me and him just had to walk through a metal detector, but that was it. And I was able
Here,
to go, and I was able to go and look at the cool airplanes. Not anymore.
here's how the airports could be better. Because first of all, TSA was not a thing until 2002. You had, I mean, the airport kind of handled their own security.
Yeah, exactly. It
But
was like, yeah, like, it was not federal. That's what it was. It wasn't. It
yeah,
was like
what you could do is, I'm sure
each
that
airport.
it could be handled privately. You could, yeah, if you want to, like, it doesn't matter, whether you're flying or not. You can have, if you want to have, like, those screenings, go for it. But, like, I don't see, like, why, like, a family member can't see their family member off to the gate. It doesn't make sense to me. There's no
Well, I
reason
mean,
why.
yeah, that, like, but then, like, cause yeah, there was, like, the whole 9/11 thing, but then there's also this, like, the shoe bomber and then the underwear bomber.
And
Um,
just so you know, they're allowing people, like, there's still stories that come out, like, where, oh, so and so, like, had a gun, like, that I crossed, two airlines, and I had my gun on me, and they had no, they were supposed to have like been patted down or whatever. And it's like they got through with their shit. It's like it's happening. It doesn't. The TSA is useless.
Yeah. But
We're gonna take down a.
but to offer a comparison, because 9/11 happened and everyone like freaked out, and then the shoe bomber happened, and then more and more regulations were created, and then the underwear bomber happened,
I
and then
think
even more regulations started happening.
I think those stories came out because it was a way to like solidify that group's position.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, and then let's take it more modern day situation. Corona happened, everyone freaked out, and then Delta, and then Omicron, and then Mu, and then Omicron, 2B or 1A, and
Yeah, it's
kind of sounding familiar.
oh shit, like who knows? And like I don't want people to think that like, oh, 9/11 didn't happen, or that like I don't care about that. It's like no, we all watched that. I mean, if you were born, uh, anytime before then, we all saw that shit happen. Like it's crazy, and it's horrible.
Yeah, I don't deny the images. I just I question the narrative.
Fair enough. We'll go with that. But like we all saw it. Like it's like okay, and so I understand like the people were killed and lost, which is horrible. But that doesn't mean that we have to be scared forever, and we don't need a whole government organization that should have been gone by like at least 2004. But now it's like, oh, Homeland Security, oh, of course they're awesome, they're great, that's a part of the government, and now they're adding on all these other groups to this organization that shouldn't exist anymore, that was supposed to be temporary, and now we have TSA, now we have the Ministry of Truth. I mean, it's like it's just gonna be it's just bullshit. And the Ministry of the Truth is like that's the scariest thing to me. It's like you're just steering into the skid at this point. Like exactly what you're doing. And people are like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Yeah, are you fucking morons? I mean, like
yeah, yeah, but like let's talk about like who they're getting to head this thing, because Mayorkas definitely lied when he said like she was like the most qualified person, or in or something qualified immensely, or some SAT adjective describing qualified. But like what is she qualified in? Because from what I've seen, she's just a failed theater kid, with her fucking Mary Poppins esque disinfo song that she sings.
God.
And then Mr. Reagan did a video, and he found a video of her doing I don't know, dinner theater or something, and she was singing like oh, I want to be famous, and he was noting that like that's who she really is. She just wants fame. She wants notoriety. And she also, like, even though it proved to be like grade A bullshit, she still stands by the Steele dossier.
Because she's either an idiot or a liar or both.
Well, she's a woman, so yes.
I can't deny that. I can't deny that.
But yeah, like they keep that's how you know that they're lying. They don't tell you like why she's qualified. They just tell you that she is. They don't do anything to boast that, oh, she worked for such and such, this is in this many years at such and such agency, or she studied at this because she studied communications at such and such university. They never say that. They just tell you that she's the most qualified. Kind of like with kind of like with Joe Biden. How they constantly put out like he's the most voted. He's the most popular president in U.S. history, getting more votes than Barack Obama, the first black president or half black president, I should say, in U.S. history.
Oh, well, that's great. Oh man,
Right, but they don't. Yeah, but again, they don't tell you like why he's popular. It's just that he is the most popular, and so that's how you know that they're lying.
Yeah, it's just, and what I have been finding out though is people, there are a lot of people waking up to like a lot of this shit, like where, not only to like stuff like this, but they're starting to notice like the bullshit, like especially like in like they're kind of like local races, right? Like where you have people running like Dr. Oz running for Senate, right? He's apparently running in like Pennsylvania, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm running, I'm a pro-life candidate. I've always been that way. No, you haven't. In fact, let's look to this survey says no, you're not. Like, we have the tape that shows you're not. Not only have you said it on several podcasts that you're a pro-choice guy, you've said it on your fucking show that you've been doing for a number of years.
Right.
And listen, I'm not saying that like if you've changed your mind about that, that's one thing. I'm okay with that. You can change your mind, and it's like, hey, I was this way, and
right,
something I've thought about it, and I realize that this is not the way, and this is why, and I'm changing the way that I think, and I'm this. I feel like I'm a pro-choice. I'm a pro-lifer guy now because of that. Great, that's awesome. I'd actually, if I was there, I'd vote for the guy if that was the case, because you're being honest. But he's not being honest. He's a liar. He sees that like
he started off with denial even despite there being evidence. That's how you know that he's not trustworthy.
Yeah,
because like you said, if he had come out and said like, yes, I was pro-choice, but after doing my own research, after taking like doing some prayer, I've come to the realization that abortion is wrong for X and Y reason, and so that's why I'm now pro-life. If he had said that, that would have been fine. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll give it. I'll listen a little more. But again, he started off with the denial, so that's how you know that he's not trustworthy.
Yeah, and I was like, don't lie to me about that. Like if like it's that there's evidence out there, dumbass, that like you said all this other shit.
Yeah, he's pulling a Joe Biden,
and here's the other thing. This is another reason why it kind of worries me a little bit that like especially with the upcoming presidential elections, like Trump supported this guy. Like he's saying like, yeah, he's behind him. I'm like, no, don't be behind. Why?
Well, I understand I understand the concern, but I wouldn't be that worried because I think we have to give Trump's base some credit because they're not stupid, or not the vast majority is not stupid. And they know that just because Trump endorses him, that doesn't mean that like they're gonna go out. That means therefore they're gonna go out and vote for him.
No.
And again, I'm not talking about the cultists who are like, Trump can never do any wrong. I'm talking about like, the majority of MAGA people who understands like, it's like you just backed a loser there, Trump.
Yeah, he's a loser.
So yeah, and if anything, I would definitely endorse. I know we're not in Pennsylvania, but I would definitely endorse the other candidate, the other Republican running, Kathy something.
Yeah,
But
she
like,
seems all right.
yeah, I saw an interview that she did with a YouTuber that I've been watching for a while, Dr. Steve Turley, and yeah, her story is like she's a smart lady, um, and her story is amazing because in this most recent interview, she revealed like because like the whole Roe v. Wade situation happened, but she shared that she herself is a product of a rape, um, and and you know, her mother was very much younger than the man that raped her. But she had a good, but her mom had a really good family, and all she knew was love. Um, and
Definitely.
yeah, she's a really impressive lady, and
Well,
any of
if
you
I was-
in Pennsylvania, watching this, I would definitely suggest you look into her. Let me look her up real fast.
yeah, that's just on that story alone. That's pretty amazing stuff right there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it just to me it was just very encouraging that like even though like people are even though like they're not necessarily I wouldn't necessarily call them conservative by any means. They're starting to see like oh wow like they're starting to see bullshit like it's like no we're not gonna vote for you because you're a liar already like this is something this should be a positive for you yet
Oh
you're
yeah.
lying about it. The only reason
Mhm.
you're talking about it is because that's where the political winds are changing. We're not going to vote for people like that anymore.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That candidate is Kathy Barnett. So those of you in Pennsylvania, check her out. Seriously, she's a very impressive candidate.
Yeah,
From what I've seen so far of her, she's a very impressive candidate.
yeah, I've heard that name from some people too. I'm like, oh, okay, she seemed all right to me.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but yeah, it's we're getting to a point I think where people there are a lot of people who are waking up like whether they're more liberal or not like leftist but like liberal centrist or conservatives like we're not we're done with this shit like we're waking up to like we need to stop voting for these people who have been in office for 500 years um these liars who say one thing but we have the evidence that because they've been in office forever that they're not for this thing that they say that they're for now and not because they're not saying it because like hey something changed like they had a change of heart and it's not like they are just saying like, no I've always been that way. Fuck you dude.
Yeah, I mean even Biden. It
You're
just came.
pissing on me. It's not raining, you're pissing on me.
Yeah, even Biden. I mean, I know Biden. He's plagiarized. He's straight up lied. But yeah, in the late '70s or '80s, he tried to put in a motion to have Roe v. Wade overturned when he was a senator.
That guy is like he is the epitome of a guy that does this. Where's the wind blowing? That's what he does.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, we might have agreed with him 40 years ago, but not now. And again, that's his doing because again, he's an opportunist. Yeah, Joe Biden's an opportunist. But I mean, but that's all. That's all kind of politicians. All politicians are opportunists. Um,
Yeah.
even even the good ones, even the good ones.
Yeah, I'm not saying that there isn't a place. Yeah, obviously you want to take advantage of your opponent's weakness. Absolutely, duh. It is a competition in a lot of ways,
Yeah,
but at the same time, I think if you're more or less honest about things, like hey, uh, I think you will win out more than you think. If you keep your soul and you don't sacrifice yourself at the altar of politics, you will win out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, it's
Because to be honest, I can take bad news from someone that's being honest for me. It's like, hey, we're in a bad situation right now. It's not, some of it is like maybe I made a bad decision, or we are trying to recover from some of the fallacies of the previous previous administrations.
mhm.
But here's the plan. Here's what we're gonna do, and we're gonna work on cutting some of the spending that we're doing. We're gonna cut on doing some of these things. We're gonna make it through this. But but we're gonna go through a little bit of a tough time. Hey, I'm all for that. It's like we're not gonna give as much funding to foreign countries. We're not gonna allow we're gonna postpone some of our uh, processing of people coming into the country. Uh, we're gonna build the border wall. We're gonna keep people from coming in illegally. We're gonna you know we're gonna try to pare down some of our organizations federally, and we're gonna make it through this. I know that's never gonna happen, but that if there was a candidate like that, that person would win hands down.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
I think like 90% of Americans were like, yeah, let's vote for that guy.
Yeah, but it's very rare that we ever, that there ever is such a candidate like that. Um,
Why is it like
and
that? I don't understand. Why is it not like that?
I mean, it could just be the fact that our system has become so corrupt that everything is like preordained. Um, like and again, this might sound a little tinfoily, but and I haven't looked into the matter myself. But if true, it would be amazing. But what is it? There was this, I saw a video, and it was like from a news clip, um, maybe local. I don't think it reached national. But a girl went and did like a family tree of all the presidents, and all of them are related except for Martin Van Buren. And I
For
mean
real?
all, yeah, and I mean all, like even Obama.
Get the
Um,
fuck out of here.
allegedly, again, I haven't looked into the matter myself, but like this news report of this girl who went back into like the family trees of like all the presidents
I want to look at this. Send me that.
and what is it? Like where most like genealogists or whatever would only go through like the father's line. She went through like the mother's line too, and like every single president is related to one another. Like every single president.
Get the fuck out of here.
Except for Martin Van Buren. He's the lone anomaly.
Isn't he like one of the and Van Buren is like one of the most reviled presidents ever.
Because he wasn't part of the family. And here's the crazy thing. The research that this little girl did, um, puts the common ancestor for all the presidents as uh, the king who signed the Magna Carta.
For real?
Yeah.
Wow.
Again, I haven't looked into this. I just recently saw this video and I thought it was quite
Wait,
fascinating.
is he like Genghis Khan?
Maybe hold on.
Is he the Western Genghis Khan? Well, I know, like recently, like John Tyler's grandson just passed away. Uh, he was the grandson of like our 10th president.
Yeah. John something or other. Hold on. King John of England.
But if that's true, Jesus Christ, that's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Right?
That there's so many connections. I mean, however, like, distant is still like that's insane.
I know, like again, I haven't looked into the matter myself. I am highly caveating this claim because I have not looked into it myself. But if true, would be fucking amazing.
Yeah, and because I always question, it's like when was it like where the corruption really began? What was it? 10 years after the founding. Like as far as like our actual country slash constitution after we beat the British. Are we talking like 5 years, 6 years, 25 years, 100 years? Where did that corruption really start to begin? Because that's the thing that I'm like, what are like the legal decisions? What are the laws that started to come into place that really started to break? To because you don't go from like where we were to now from out of nowhere.
I'm gonna say that it was from the Civil War.
Yeah, I mean to me that's an easy answer because there was a lot of shit that happened there that's like a lot of things were broken during that.
Exactly.
And we are still technically under some of the provisions that Lincoln set up during the Civil War now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm gonna say Civil War.
That were never reversed.
Exactly.
Whether like now, here's the thing. Now, would have Lincoln reversed them? Had he not been assassinated?
If he had survived,
maybe. But we don't know that.
Yeah, we don't know that. Yeah, we won't know anymore. We can't know anymore. But yeah, after the Civil War, though, it's like kind of been downhill.
Yeah, because
in terms of like the integrity of the system that the founders set up.
Because what was it? Owen Benjamin always calls Abraham Lincoln like Abraham Hitler or whatever.
Yeah.
Something along those lines is like, I could see that. I could totally see that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he suspended habeas corpus. He suspended, freedom of the press. He did a lot of things that would be considered, authoritarian. But yeah, like as you stated, if he wasn't assassinated, would he have, rescinded all of those measures? During a time of war, I would. I want to imagine. I want to imagine that he would have, but we just won't know.
We just don't know, and the fact is that like the people that assassinated him like that shit.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like it's like you don't stop your enemies from hanging themselves. It's like, oh, you're gonna do that? Okay. And so they wanted to make and they knew that, like, because Andrew Johnson was all for that shit, and they he actually was.
So was John? Oh dang, was John Wilkes Booth a useful idiot?
Yeah, I think he was.
Yeah, because like he thought, because he was probably like us, who thought like the measures that Lincoln took were tyrannical, and so like he obviously he went down the wrong path and he did the wrong thing, but it played into the hands of the people that wanted that stuff to remain.
Yeah, absolutely.
Holy shit. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because like now I'm at the point of my life where I'm constantly questioning like the official story.
Yeah, exactly. It's scary because I'm doing the same thing. I'm like, am I a crazy person?
Right. And
Am
I'm
I
not
being?
I'm not necessarily making claims. I'm just questioning the
Yeah,
official story because it's like, yeah, John Wilkes Booth, bad guy. He was a guy from the South. He wanted to keep slavery or whatever. But
yeah.
like
He was
think
a
but
bad
think but
dude.
but think of what his words were after he shot Lincoln. It's like sic semper tyrannis. Thus always to tyrants. Like that this guy was against tyranny. And what he saw of Lincoln, he saw a tyrant.
And the things that he were doing, yeah, it's very possible he was doing he was doing it for good reasons, but yeah, they're tyrannical in a way, and by killing him, it solidified that.
Exactly.
That's like I said, I have no backing for that, but
Exactly. Yeah, we're just working out ideas right now. We're not making any claims. We're just asking
that
questions.
that is scary to think about. Yeah, he's a useful idiot because if the actual agenda that Lincoln wanted to put forth, because from my understanding, his idea was like kind of just like, hey, the country's back together. We're gonna forget all the stuff, and we're gonna go back to the way it was. And he was gonna renege all the acts that he had put during the Civil War. The states were gonna go back to the way they were. Things were gonna go back to normal. Without slavery, of course, but everything was gonna go back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but everybody go back to their corners.
Mm-hmm.
That was what was
Yeah.
understood,
Right.
or at least
That was the original vision that
and
Lincoln had.
so the fact that and so it almost makes me wonder if there was somebody more involved with that plot for assassination, um and to go real nuts, and
Yeah. Well, I mean,
because
yeah, there is a theory that there was a conspiracy to kill Lincoln. Like there was like all these like weird things that are happening. Like there was like supposedly some guy who was kind of like standing watch, and he would call out the time for like no reason. Um,
well, because the plot from what we are from what is understood, they were going to kill Lincoln. They were going to kill, I think, like the Secretary of State. I think Andrew Johnson was one of them. There was like five people like the top five people in the U.S. government that were targeted, and the only person, everything else failed, quote unquote failed, and then but except for Lincoln was the only one that was killed in that plot.
right.
And then once he was killed, his idea for reconstruction, for what his plans for, his
Reunification.
supposed plans for to
Yeah,
for
reunification.
were all that stuff was
Down the drain.
down the drain. So it's very possible that Lincoln was going to do everything that he said he was going to do, But they're like, yeah, we're not gonna allow that, so we're gonna just kill this
Yeah.
guy.
I mean, right. Think
And
about again, kind of tying it back to recent times. You know, before 2000, before 2020, the government didn't do shit, or at least like the local government didn't have power to do shit. But then coronavirus happens, and now the fucking mayor of LA has power he never dreamt of having.
yeah,
And then you think that he's just gonna give that shit up?
the fuck no.
Exactly. So like yeah, and I mean like think of it from like Andrew Johnson's perspective. It's like he's vice president, and again he's not in the same party. Johnson was a Democrat, and
Yep,
so like and he probably was gonna make a run for president at some point. Um,
they impeach his ass.
right, but like would he not want to come in when at the time when the president had had all that power?
Of course he did.
Exactly.
It
Again, I'm not
that
saying that Andrew Johnson was part of the plot, but I'm just saying
no,
if he was part of the plot, then he would like obviously want to come in at a time when the president had like you know near absolute power.
dude, this makes total sense to me. Like I said, this is just something like because I'm always thinking about that, like because I'm thinking about like some of the things that Lincoln had. It's not that like I don't think he wanted to do those things, but I think he had to do those things, and he was utilizing the power that was given to him, and he just happens to die while those powers are still in effect. Yeah, that's
Right? I mean, yeah, like
that makes a lot of sense to me.
yeah, I mean, kind of like a George Washington, where George Washington never, I mean, whether he feigned it or not, to actually gain power, but like kind of like George Washington, he did, Abraham Lincoln may not have like sought power, but it was thrust upon him.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And so in maybe he was the 16th president, so 5 generations. In 5 generations, there happened to be another like noble king kind of president.
Yeah, I mean it's very possible.
Yeah. I'm not making any claims. I'm just talking out loud, asking questions. But yeah, like Abraham Lincoln might have been one of the last like noble king type presidents where he was like, he did these things not because for some personal gratification. He did it because it was the thing that had to be done.
Well, I'd almost say Calvin Coolidge was the last noble king, but that's
Oh yeah, yeah. He
yeah.
didn't do shit. He didn't grow the government, but he didn't shrink. Yeah, he didn't shrink the government, but he didn't grow the government. He vetoed every fucking bill that ever came across his desk.
God, I wish we
God
had
damn,
more.
he didn't spend one red cent more than was absolutely necessary. God damn, we need another Calvin Coolidge.
I'm telling you, dude, Calvin Coolidge is one of the great presidents of all time.
I know, yeah. Don't those of you out there, don't sleep on Calvin Coolidge. All right.
To be honest, I want to buy his biography because I want to learn more about that guy. But
God damn, Calvin Coolidge is fucking awesome.
I mean, it goes from like we have Washington, Adams, Jefferson, and then like Lincoln, Coolidge. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Teddy Roosevelt was also pretty good too.
Yeah.
Because he helped like break, his Twitter, Facebook, YouTube of the day. Like he broke a lot of the monopolies and made the country better in that sense. And he also set up.
And he's such a fucking legend. He started his own third party and won.
and would have won. Yeah, it's insane.
Oh, wait, I thought he did win, like his second term.
No, he had two turn, but this is before FDR wanted to declare himself king. Um, he had served his 2 terms.
Hmm.
He wanted Taft to become president.
Hmm.
Taft as president was terrible, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Well, this guy sucks, so I'm gonna run again." But obviously, like Taft's gonna run again, so I'm gonna create my own
Right.
party. He nearly
Oh.
and during his speech during he created the Bull Moose Party.
Hmm.
During his speech, then was shot in the chest, but because he would, but like he had his speech in his pocket, which was so thick, it protected him from like dying. And he still not only did he finish the speech, but he actually almost won the presidency. But like the amount of votes that he took away from Taft gave us Woodrow Wilson.
That's what it was. Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of like, yeah, I'm not in favor of parties, but I understand like kind of like the modern necessity for them. Um,
I mean, we talked
even
about
though,
like
yeah, even though I think I more ascribe to like the founding fathers model of developing like coalitions. Um, because like there were no parties back then, and it's just like
that's
you have to build like you have to build a consensus, and like the person across from you, you have to convince them. You know,
that was, from what I understand, a Van Buren institution. He was the one
the
that kind of
parties.
created the modern idea of parties.
Uh, I see why they fucking hated him.
Now I could be wrong on the presidents, but it was around his time
Okay,
that.
all right. Yeah, because like the original, like the founding fathers, they didn't want parties because they didn't want like loyalties beyond the country itself. Um,
Yeah, and it's like
yeah,
we
so like
now
yeah,
we
that's why like even if you think about like the original like uh or not the original, but like the Continental Congress, there were no parties, and so like each state like representative had to go and like make his case and like bring the person over to their side.
and that's what it should be. To be
Hmm.
honest, it
Yeah, and
should.
then and building coalitions within the Congress.
Yeah, that's really what it should be. But whatever.
Yeah.
I mean that's a real pipe dream of all. That's the pipe dream of all pipe dreams at this point.
I know. At this point, yeah. I mean, if we went and started our own country and we just took like, the first draft of the Constitution and, and started a new country, then I think we'd be good.
But
Yeah.
but
But
like,
yeah, we're
bad
we
things
got.
are happening, good things are happening in the country. I'm taking solace and hope in what's good. I'm gonna fight like hell against the things that are bullshit. And then I'm gonna look back at history too, and I'm like, God, it just, we're talking through something. I'm like, that fucking makes a lot of sense, to be honest.
Hmm.
Um, and I am kind of a scary thought, to be honest.
I'm sorry. What was that last bit?
No, I'm just saying it's kind of a scary thought. Like some of like the some of the ideas that we were kind of talking through.
Hmm.
Even going back to the Civil War, like where we think like that the country really kind of had a lot of its changes happen.
Hmm.
Going back to 1865 when Lincoln was assassinated, because you're right, a lot of the things in the country changed then.
Hmm.
But I'm always wondering, like, what if there was anything before that where the inklings of some maybe like some bad court decisions, some bad laws that were being enacted,
Hmm.
stuff like that, or was it,
Well, I mean,
or do all of our bad decisions really come from the Civil War going forward?
I would say Civil War going forward. Because I mean that's when women's suffrage happened. That's when the welfare state came in.
I'm all for repeal of the 19th Amendment.
That's what I'm saying. You know.
Yeah, well, I showed you that chart of like, as far as like voting patterns, and
yeah, exactly. Like this, the welfare state didn't come into this country until after the women got the right to vote.
That's true. I'm all for it.
Yeah. And again, like I'm willing to not repeal, but I'm willing to modify the 19. And I would say that a woman has to be married and have 2 kids minimum to vote.
Yeah.
Because then, like, at least then she has like some skin in the game.
At least, like, my wife says, like, when she be, because she's not she's on her way to becoming a citizen. She's like, I'm just gonna vote the way you vote. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Another option would be, one family, one vote.
I'm all for that. See, that makes sense to me too.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's like why would the woman vote if all her vote is going to do is negate her husband's vote?
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. But it does make sense if you're trying to destabilize a civilization.
Yeah.
But like Robert said, a lot of things to be, hopeful about. A lot of things to definitely keep your eyes on. Both of them, if you can, when you can spare them. But I think on the whole, I think we're actually doing a lot better than what I would have imagined we would have been doing
Absolutely.
thus far. If you asked me the night of November 2019, I would say like this country's over.
Yep.
This country's over. I'm just I'm gonna pack up my shit and move up into the mountains and screw off. But, but I mean, has it been the best 2 years? No. I make no illusions.
But we are definitely seeing some things change big time.
Yeah, big time.
In a good way.
Yeah, in good ways. So again, strap, buckle your chin strap and lean in.
Yeah.
All right. Let's let's get to our movie review and we'll wrap it up. I will hit everyone with the synopsis. Again, to remind you, this month the theme is going to be Bruce Willis. This is in honor of Bruce Willis, given his recent diagnosis of aphasia. So we wanted to give him a little highlight because both Robert and I are Bruce Willis fans. We're gonna start off with this month with one of his early ones before Die Hard, and that's Sunset. It's a comedy western from 1988. It stars him, Bruce Willis, and James Garner. Let me hit y'all with the synopsis and we'll get going. Having retired from a life of gunfights and peacekeeping, the great Wyatt Earp has landed a job as advisor to a Western movie about himself. On the set of the silent picture, he gets to know Tom Mix, an actor who specializes in Westerns, who has been hired to portray Earp. Not long after making each other's acquaintance, they find out that Earp's ex-girlfriend's son is missing, and the man responsible may be studio chief Alfie Alprin.
Yeah, this so the director of this movie was Blake Edwards. He was, from what I understand, he also did. He was the director of like Operation Petticoat, Breakfast at Tiffany's. So he was part of that. He was also the director of the film that came out with Bruce Willis prior to this, which was I'm forgetting the name of that, but like so he had done that. Um, he And so the character that Bruce Willis was portraying, Tom Mix, is a real actor. He was a silent film Western actor. Wyatt Earp, we've talked about before. He is a real person. He was a guy from the Old West, part of the
Dodge
shootout.
City,
Yeah, Dodge City shootout at the OK
Tombstone.
Corral. And and of course, here's the thing though. So in reality, and I guess the guy that Malcolm McDowell was supposed to be portraying, he was supposed to be like the Charlie Chaplin type of
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
wasn't Charlie Chaplin, but he was supposed to be like Charlie Chaplin, kind of in that vein.
Right. Yeah. He was like, yeah, he's a silent movie like Tramp, vaudeville background, some light acrobatic training.
And so here's a quick problem with the movie, as far historically wise. Well, so Tom Mix did know Wyatt Earp. They had met. Tom Mix was actually a pallbearer at Wyatt Earp's funeral. Wyatt Earp died in January of late January of 1929, where the year that this movie is supposed to take place. So this movie technically didn't really happen, obviously.
Right.
But here's the thing about the film. The film knows this. They know it. This film, of course, it's bullshit. They know it's bullshit. They're filming a fun story. The Tom Mix, Wyatt Earp adventures, which I totally would have wanted to see more of. And here's the thing, and a lot of the critics pan is like, oh, well, it's not realistic, it's bullshit, blah 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, but the movie's winking at you the entire fucking time.
Right. Especially with that one line, our favorite line in the entire movie.
It's like, and that's how it happened. Give or take a lie or two.
Exactly. Yeah. So like, they're doing like fourth wall breaks all the time in that movie. Not fourth wall. Yeah, not fourth wall. But yeah, you're right. They are winking at you the entire time when, it's like the trope of the unreliable narrator.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, is that story true? It's like every word of it, give or take a lie or two.
And because I already really liked the movie, but then like once they like had that screen at the end of and that's how it happened. Give or take or lie or two. It's like, oh, the whole thing is they're totally, yeah, they know exactly what they're doing. It's, of course it's bullshit. Like, because I was thinking like, wait, was Wyatt Earp alive still in 1929? And I was trying to think like, was this like even plausible to have happened? And it's like, no, it's not. I was like looking like, no, he died in January of 1929. And Tom Mix is like, yeah, he was a real guy, but no, this didn't happen. And we had the first Academy Awards then, and no, Wyatt Earp was not part of that. But then that last screen changes everything, and it shows you that. Now what you don't realize is that they've been telling you that the entire fucking film, because the whole idea is that Tom Mix is going to be playing Wyatt Earp in these movies about him, and Wyatt Earp is a consultant on the film, and everyone's asking like, "Oh, Mr. Earp, is that how it happened in real life?" Yeah. And it's like, and then like Tom Mix is like, no, dude, is that really how it happens? Like, yeah, it's kind of true. Give or take a lie or two. They've been telling you that the entire fucking movie. So it just it's supposed to be fun. I don't understand why people hate this film. This is a good movie. It's fun. You have great actors. You have Malcolm McDowell. You have Bruce Willis. You have James Garner. Uh, it's this, and you have Blake Edwards, who did like a lot of great movies. This is a fun movie. It's good. It's fun. It's a western too, which uh, James Garner has portrayed Wyatt Earp before in the past. We
I mean,
know.
James Garner has major Western cred.
Yeah.
He even did like that show Maverick.
Oh, dude, I love Maverick. Maverick's an awesome show, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Willis is a fan of westerns. The whole reason that Yippee Ki motherfucker became a slogan, a catchphrase, is because he's a fan of Roy Rogers. Now, Yippee Yippee Ki Yo. It's not Yippee Ki motherfucker, but that was
That was a little ad lib by Bruce
by
Willis.
Bruce Willis. But in the writing of Die Hard, which came out after this movie, which he was making during the course of this film, he when they were doing the writing for that, or some of the rewriting for that, he got to talking about how he's a huge fan of westerns and Roy Rogers, and said, why don't we put it in this line? This sounds fun, and that's where we get the Yippee Ki motherfucker. He's a big fan of westerns, and I'm so glad, in a sense, Bruce Willis got to do his western. This is his western film. Obviously he's not in any westerns that I know of after this, so this is his western in a sense. And I imagine that he had
there is a gangster movie that he does, and it's done like kind of in like this. It's set like in like 1920s. It's like 1920s like gangster movie. I forget what it's called.
What's the name of that film? I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, but like that, that could be interpreted as a western because like it happens in like a ghost town, like in the West.
Yeah, I get.
But yeah, not like in the strictest sense of like cowboys and like gunfights.
You could argue that, but I to be honest, because from what I see, Bruce Willis is having a lot of fun in this movie.
Yeah, that is apparent.
Now here's the thing: James Garner is a professional, and we talked about this back on the Professionals, where, it looks like Burt Lancaster and Lee Marvin are the best of friends. Just like I feel like that James Garner and Bruce Willis, they're the best of friends. Tom Mix and Wyatt Earp, they're like Sherlock Holmes and Watson.
Like macaroni and cheese.
Nope, not at all. James Garner said, like, I will never, ever, ever, ever work with Bruce Willis again. He is so high school. He doesn't give a shit about like his craft. He really dresses him down. But you would never know it by watching the film.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You thought, you would think that James Garner and Bruce Willis were like bosom buddies. Like the way they played off each other so well in the movie.
That's professionalism, right? Fucking there.
Yeah. Which, it's interesting that you bring this up because now, like, so I don't know if you saw the last G.I. Joe movie. Not the Snake Eyes one, but the one with Bruce Willis in it.
Oh, he's in it?
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, G.I. Joe Retaliation.
I'm watching that.
But I mean, he's not in it for a lot of the time, but he's in it.
I don't care. He's in it.
But there is this like contentious there's this contentious relationship between him and one of the actresses, Adrienne Palicki. If she was most recently was cast for Seth MacFarlane's Star Trek tribute show, Orville.
Orville.
And then she was also Miss Perkins in the John Wick movie. But yeah, she was in that movie, and they have like this kind of contentious relationship, and and I wonder if that's like not so far from the truth, and from real life, like maybe like Adrian Palicki like didn't really get along with Bruce Willis, and vice versa.
That's possible.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, yeah, I just bring that up because you brought up like how James Garner said like he would never work with him again, and how like he didn't respect Bruce Willis at all, and so it just sparked a memory in my mind. Just like it's really interesting that they played it that way between those two characters in the GI Joe movie, but
yeah, that could be the case because I know the news around Hollywood is that Bruce Willis is kind of a dick. He's an asshole. He's hard to work with. All that, and it's like, to be honest though, I think that he's more of a guy that and I really wanted to watch like the Inside the Actor Studio with him. I had a hard, I actually, I know you sent me some the footage for that. It was not playing very well. It couldn't play for some reason, and so I was hoping to kind of get like more of an insight on this guy because I wanted to know more.
Right.
And my thing is, from what I understand about him, is that he's more of a guy that I see him as like wanting to have fun. He's having fun.
Yeah, I mean, is he like a Shakespearean actor? No, but he makes damn entertaining movies.
He would piss off like Patrick Stewart, Burt Lancaster, James Garner, like a lot of these more like classical actors, right? And that's not because like he's specifically trying to be a dick. It's just like he's a younger guy that's having fun, doing doing stuff, and it's like it's just and acting is like for him was a way because in his younger days, unlike Joe Biden, he actually did suffer from stuttering, and he kind of had like his social awkwardness and stuff like that. But what helped him was doing acting. And acting was a way for him to overcome that, and
yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, yeah, there is a therapy where just pretend to be somebody else. What better cover is there for someone with who's has like stage fright, or who's like not comfortable with who they are? What better cover is there than to put on somebody else and pretend to be them?
Right. Yeah, so we might not actually know the real Bruce Willis, but we know his characters.
Right, and it's not, just really quickly again, it is not as though that he's a terrible that he can't be that he can't do serious type of roles. I mean, he was great in Sixth Sense, and again in Unbreakable.
Dude, we're gonna talk about Unbreakable. I mean, it's like he is amazing in those films.
Exactly, yeah, and so it's like it's not as though he can't do like those serious type of roles. He definitely can. But but his personal I guess his personal ethos towards acting is just not the same as these classically trained actors.
Yeah, and I think that there is something like where people are those classically trained actors are bugged by that. And I get that. He's a guy that's trying to he's trying to quip and be funny and kind of do his thing. And it's like those are not the lines on the page.
It's like, yeah, but but this is more fun.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and no knock on James Garner, because I love James Garner. I think he's great. He was great in TV. He was great in his films. And he's great in this. James Garner steals the show in this movie. He is awesome, and I'm sad to see that he didn't get along with Bruce Willis, because I would have loved to have seen like more murder mysteries between like Tom Mix and Wyatt Earp. It's just I want to see like a Sunset too. It's like
right. Yeah, no. If they were able to work out their differences, I think like the Wyatt Earp Tom Mix adventures would have done so well.
It would have been fucking fantastic.
Right, and like maybe Wyatt has a problem and he's like calls it, and then there's the second one could be like something like Wyatt is dealing with, and he calls up his old buddy Tom Mix. It's like, hey Tom, he's like what you up to? And like he's like right in the middle of like this big scene. He's like, oh, I'm not really doing anything. It's like
in a lot of ways, like our next film kind of is in that same vein. The Last Boy Scout. It's kind of it kind of deals with that a little bit. It is kind of like a Sunset-esque type of film.
Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Not that there's realistic characters per se, like it's not like like Peyton Manning and like a famous detective, or like Sherlock Holmes are working together, but like it does have some of those similarities. But like I want to see like more Wyatt Earp, Tom Mix, murder mystery adventures.
Well, yeah, let's. I mean, I think we backfill this enough. Let's go a little bit into the movie. What was your favorite part of the movie? What was your favorite scene?
I think like as the story is developing, like you start we get the character development, all that stuff, and then as we're starting to learn more about the characters, to me the funniest part was like right as like because we get like Malcolm McDowell's character, who he's the producer of he's the film producer. He's the Charlie Chaplin-esque character. He's like, hey Tom, we're gonna be doing a Wyatt Earp picture. We're gonna do doing about the shootout at the OK Corral. You're gonna play Wyatt Earp, and we're gonna have Wyatt Earp as a consultant. It's like, why am I playing a real person? It doesn't I've played my own characters before. Like, why am I didn't become famous by playing other people. It's like, well, you're gonna do it. Okay, fine. It's like, what am I gonna be fired if I don't? It's like, well, he didn't say it in that many words. It's like, yeah, you're gonna be fired. It's like, okay. We get the whole scene with like Wyatt Earp coming on like on the train. You get the whole like hullabaloo with like Tom Mix and his like just bright white cowboy uniform with the hat. And we meet Wyatt Earp, who's like he's wearing a more modern
more modern suit.
It's like, and then the funniest scene to me was like they're in the car and like, oh, we're gonna have like this press conference and this photo shoot, and like, can you wear something more Western? But yeah, and it's like, and this is something that's happening in Hollywood today, and it's like they're having this whole hullabaloo. They pull up at the whatever restaurant or whatever club, and it's like you want to do any of this shit? Tom Mix like Bruce Willis like, you want to do any of this stuff? No. Okay. They fucking take off. It's like, And like that, like right away, that's like the scene of the movie that's like that just like speaks to me right there. Because like obviously like Wyatt Earp is fucking annoyed as all hell,
Right.
and Tom Mix is like done with all that stuff too. It's like let's just get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like Tom Mix, this old, kind of the old hat of the two, for at least in Hollywood stand, for the Hollywood stuff, but also like, um, Wyatt Earp being like this person who doesn't suffer any fools. He doesn't want to be, paraded out like some show pony, and so like, these two and Tom Mix has done like so many, he's just like he's over it, and so it's like he totally understands where Wyatt is coming from, so it's like fuck it, and yeah, so that was a nice little interaction that they had. Although my favorite scene is in the cantina at the Mexican restaurant. I think a real one, El Coyote, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah, that's great too. I really love that one.
But after the Weasley security chief for the studio like tries to get Tom and Wyatt beaten up by these stuntmen. Uh, Bruce Willis's character Tom Mix goes up to the security chief and threatens him, and then shortly after, and he threatens him to like tie him up and then drag him behind his horse until there's nothing, there's barely anything left of him. And then Wyatt Earp comes in and threatens him like, you ever pull that shit with me again, I'm gonna kill you. And then after they excuse the security chief, Tom Mix is like, why, I don't feel, I don't appreciate being upstage here. I just threatened to, drag him behind my horse. It's like, how is it, I'm the star of this, I'm the star of this show. So how can, is that, I can't be, what's the word I'm looking for? Outshined. I can't be outshined.
Yeah.
Yeah. it's like, oh, well, it's like, and then what, James Garner's Wyatt Earp's like, well, I'm terribly sorry about that. It's like, just don't let it happen again, It's like.
The other one that I really liked was where James Garner's Wyatt Earp, it's like because we have the scene like where he semi bullies the security guard at the Alperin's mansion at the estate. Mm-hmm. And then like he comes back a second time like where he's definitely not welcome. It's like but he's welcomed in by the Halperin's wife.
Yeah, Mrs. Halperin.
And it's like, just tell him I pulled a gun on you, for God's sakes. Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of like there is that like kind of running joke where it's like, I don't like being upstaged by you, man. Like so there's this camaraderie between these two, and it's so funny to find out that they just absolutely hated each other.
Yeah,
and it's like so great together. Man, I would have loved to have seen another movie with them.
Seriously, like if like the studio had gotten involved and be like, hey, you got for the we want to start a franchise with you guys, but seriously, like bury the hatchet. And
I would have 100% loved to see like another adventure between them. At least one. At least
one more. I mean, if it's not a trilogy, then at least give us a duology.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't. Well, maybe also too like the studio didn't go forward with like the Tom Mix Wyatt Earp adventures. Because of the such like bad reviews from the critics.
Well, and that's the problem. Like, here's where I think had this movie come out like today, right? Mm-hmm. This would have been a movie that was panned by the critics, but loved by everybody else. But at the time, where the critics definitely had more sway, mm-hmm. It's like, oh, Siskel and Ebert didn't like this, so why the hell would I watch this? Mm-hmm. A lot of the famous film critics, they didn't like it, so
right, yeah, and I mean for those of you youngins in the audience, I mean back then there was no IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, Metacritic. You had like again back then, what news people sold was not the news but credibility. And back in those days, yeah, the movie critics, they all, they had the credibility. So guys like Siskel and Ebert, and who's that one guy that I don't know if you remember that he was like bearded and wore glasses. I
James
don't.
Lipton.
No, not James. No, but he could pass for him. Um, his name
Oh,
escapes me, but
I don't remember his name
yeah,
by the.
but those were like, at least to me, those were the three like big, like those are the three critics that I always turn to.
If they said A, we go watch that movie. If they didn't like it, we didn't watch that movie.
Mm-hmm. Although I did disagree with them or at least Siskel and Ebert, I disagree with them on Independence Day. That movie was fun. I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah, we haven't done that one yet.
Like Siskel and Ebert,
they fucking hated it. I know that.
Yeah, they hated it. Yeah. But then luckily I saw that movie before I saw their review of it, so I was like, it's like Siskel and Ebert's wrong.
What? And I imagine like had back in the day like because there were like movies that I saw before, like I saw the reviews, like what are they seeing? Like I don't understand what they're talking about. Like I feel like this is a good movie. And that
right. I mean, yeah, I was like, was Independence Day Citizen Kane? No. But it hit all the right notes. Right? It was fun, it was an epic, it was rousing, there was some when Independence Day was released in other markets, like outside the U.S. Some people thought that Bill Pullman was the president, like actually the president of the United States.
He was great in that film.
That's what I'm saying.
But it's like when we're coming at this movie almost 40 35 years later.
Yeah.
And
1988.
I would say that this is is it the best movie of all time? No, of course not. But is it a fun film that I think people should watch? Oh, absolutely. If you like little like fun murder mystery, buddy cop duos, this is your film right here. If you like Bad Boys or Rush Hour or something along those lines, watch this movie. This is a good movie. And I think like what hurt it a lot was you had the bad reviews from like the inspirational critics.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Western that was this is before the kind of like the resurrection of the Western with like Silverado, Unforgiven.
Right, yeah, just before the neo Western. What was that?
The High Plains Drifter. It's kind of like was High Plains Drifter in the 70s?
I think it was in the 70s.
Okay, well, anyways, like at least those four films, it's like, and because there was like a small resurrection of westerns in the early 90s that was killed off by Wild Wild West.
Yeah. But the 90s, I wouldn't say like they were like the straight westerns. They were more of like the neo western, where like it kind of dealt with more like the personal side. Like Unforgiven was like more of like a personal kind of story.
True.
Where it's like like a old school like cowboy like kind of having to deal with.
No, it was not about like what the classic westerns were dealing with, but still like there was a revival.
Yeah.
And this was definitely in the same vein of the neo westerns of the 90s. It was before its time.
Yeah, it's 2 years too early.
Yeah, because like I said, we had Tombstone, like which was essentially like a whole story about the Earps,
Hmm.
and yet we had this movie back in '88, like where Wyatt Earp is teaming up with a Hollywood cowboy, Tom Mix, to solve a murder mystery. How is that not cool? And it's fun.
Hmm. Absolutely.
But yeah, I don't have any like other scenes to really talk about. I mean, yeah, it's like I said, it's fun. There's a cool murder mystery that's solved, like trying to solve like this prostitute that's murdered, and there's a whole conspiracy behind that, and like why
Hmm.
she's killed, and people that are like involved with like that case get killed, and Wyatt Earp and Tom Mix are involved and they're implicated, yet at the same time they're trying to solve this thing.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm just I absolutely love this film. I think it's something that people should watch. Um, and I'm just sad that it got panned because I know how much not only a fan of westerns that Bruce Willis is, and he got to do his western, and people didn't love it. Yet at the same time, this is like one of the best James Garner, uh, pictures as well. I think he's great in this movie,
Hmm.
and the two of them put together it's gold. I love it.
Agreed. Yeah, I really don't have anything else to add. But yeah, just would have been nice to have more. Like I mean, in terms of like a franchise
Yeah,
movies. But
yeah, and
yeah, but I'm thankful that but at the very least we have this.
see, Andy, I was not wrong though. I kept telling you, it's like, dude, this movie is really freaking good. I know it got panned, but it's good.
I mean, I don't recall ever casting dispersions, but
You're like, oh well, you like stuff like Birdemic and like Wizzo the Clown and the Christmas Circus. So you're like, I'm taking it with a grain of salt.
okay then aspersions were cast. Um, but I could hardly be blamed for thinking so.
But I smell like ramen and spam and all sorts of good things. So I think this is a
Yeah,
good time
yeah.
to.
All right, for sure. All right, let's give our ratings and we'll call it a stream.
Why don't you go first? Why don't you give your rating first?
All right. For me, I'm gonna give it a 4.
I think we're on the same page, dude. Like, yeah, it's a 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has its flaws. Don't get me wrong, but god damn, this is a great movie. I had so
Hmm.
much fun. I've
Yeah,
watched
it's
this
a
movie like
fun like escapist adventure type of fun where you'll. I mean, again, the most memorable line of the movie is "That's how it happened," give or take a lie or two.
that's the whole point of the movie.
Exactly,
And
and yeah,
I think that's what people don't realize. The whole theme of the film is like that's how it happened. Give or take a lie or two.
exactly. It's yeah. The whole premise is the unreliable narrator, and so we totally got that. I mean, like even to the point of like the laughable gunfight at Tom Mix's ranch, where like all the bad guys are covered, but they're just out in the open and like they're being shot at, but they don't take any hits.
Yeah, it's dumb, but who cares?
Exactly, exactly. It's like that's how it happened, give or take a lie or two.
Those people, Wyatt Earp was not alive in real life. Wyatt Earp was not alive, and Tom Mix was not shooting criminals. Okay,
Yes, I know. If people could only be as smart as us, right, Robert?
I'm just like I don't know. Like, am I just like I'm either too dumb or too smart, like to realize that this movie is like maybe not like this is a great like comedy western. It's so good. I don't get it. I don't understand why people didn't like this film. I don't understand why it didn't do well. It
Yeah.
spells
I
out
mean,
exactly what it's doing.
this movie makes me want to check out more recent attempts at comedy westerns, specifically Seth MacFarlane, with A Thousand Ways to Die in the West, and then
Oh yeah, watch that.
the Coen brothers attempt at what is it, the Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
I've heard that.
Yeah, I just been watching the little clips on YouTube, and god damn, it's so good. Like, and like especially like the narrator protagonist. I forget what his name, but he's collaborated with the Coen brothers a lot. But I love him. He sold me. I have to watch the Ballad of Buster Scruggs just because of
Yeah, well,
something Nielsen. Kevin Nielsen? No, that's not. That's the guy from SNL.
we'll have to do that at some point. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, that's our review for Sunset. Both Robert and I give this a 4. Highly recommend this movie. If you want just good, like, escapist entertainment, this is it.
Fuck
All right.
Siskel and Ebert. Fuck those guys.
If you just want to be entertained and if you want like a good hearty chuckle, at these two characters just like winking at you the entire movie, then this is the movie for you.
Absolutely.
All right, folks, that'll bring us to the end of our stream tonight. I hope you had a good time. I had a good time. I know Rob always has a good time.
I always have a good time.
Always. Don't forget to check out the library of other content that we have. The Circle of Jerks main podcast, Nocturnal Transmissions, of course, and Rob's Gaming Show, Up by Up Down. Don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts, Twitter and Letterboxd at PodcastCOJ, and Instagram at Circle of Jerks Podcast. And with all that said, we thank you for joining us tonight. Come back next week and we'll do it all over again. Have a good night.